brilliant in seeing off Moreton Bay United in their semi-final. Both sides won 2-0 if you have just joined us. And joining me for this final game, of the season is Tom Byrne of Lions, who just wrapped up third spot. Tom, congratulations. That was a really impressive performance. Very tight, very tense match, but a really good game to watch, and I imagine it was a really good game to play in as well.
It was fantastic to be part of. Really tight game, as you said. Jets really did a good job of holding us out, but we held the win in the end.
So Brisbane Strikers, get us underway in their yellow kits. It is them kicking off from left to right. There was a free kick, though, for contact.
Quick talking to for Blair Garton there.
Blair Garton, who was... It was Blair Garton who was just penalised for contact. So if you hear that contact, and you will hear it when these two chairs come together, Steel pretty unforgiving. Does tend to be a free kick one way or the other. Our referee is Mark Simon Green. He's being assisted on the flanks by Sansia Simon Green and Bailey Jacobson. But it's Strikers who are on the attack first up. Josh Merkus, who is such an influential figure in both Queensland Powerchair football and Australia Powerchair football. He is an Australian representative. And you can see the reason why with ball control like that. Absolutely superb.
Good use of the teammates too. That's a great ball.
It's a stunning
Parry on the end of it. Great save.
Takes a fair amount to beat Tom Latcham. He's a vastly experienced goalkeeper, but Parry, who is the leading goal scorer in the competition this year with 7 goals, is 15 years old. One of the real rising stars. He was MVP at the 2018 Nationals in what was his first full season of Powerchair football. He's a real talent, and he's showing that early on here as well. He can't quite latch onto that ball though. And it goes out for a sideline. Jesse McCarthy plays the ball inside to another Australian representative, Bryce Castles, who's president of the association. He's captain and coach of the Brisbane City team as well.
McCarthy with good ball control, good dribbling. Merkus engaging. These two will be at each other all match, I suspect.
Yeah, McCarthy's not one to shy away from the challenge, and neither is
Merkus.
Josh Merkus. Both real talented players.
Still battling. Merkus finds a way out and wins the sideline hit.
We've mentioned it a couple of times already today, Tom, but you have to give a little to get somewhere in those one-on-one situations. And Merkus just seems to be a master at knowing when to let his teammate, let his opposition and let his opponent have a little bit of leeway with the ball and still manage to come away with it. Here's an opportunity for Yucatil, who's been having a fantastic season. He scored both goals in the semi-final victory. Oh, clever from Castles to take the ball away from Merkus, but then the ball was played straight back to him, and Josh Merkus is in the mood here.
Now. McCarthy engaging now.
Yeah, it's clever from McCarthy. Merkus just can't quite get that flick away. Bit of a collision there. Merkus trying to go around the outside of McCarthy. McCarthy just going from one way to another, but Merkus does manage to get around the edge.
Finding space now.
McCarthy can't go in because it would make it a 2-on-1, and you have to ignore as much as you can Tom Latcham in that situation because he's the goalkeeper. He's allowed to be the extra man close to Bryce Castles.
And looks like we're getting substitutions already. Garton coming off and Pretorius coming on.
That is early, just after, just outside of the 5 minutes of the opening part of this game.
Will that be the change that helps City break through? Goes behind Yucatil to Merkus.
Again, you can be confident in letting the ball go when Merkus is behind you. Oh, clever from McCarthy.
Well done from McCarthy. Pretorius went on the end of it. Good ball in.
City really do pride themselves, or appear to pride themselves, on their ability to move the ball well, but strikers are showing that they've got plenty of passing options as well. And Yucatil, it was either a shot or he was just trying to thread the ball through towards Jack Parry. Either way, it will be a Brisbane City goal kick. But again, really good football from both teams. They are not afraid to pass the ball around.
And that's one of the reasons why strikers are so good. You'll think that the ball is stuck in the battle, and then suddenly there'll be 2 passes upfield.
Yucatil beating out McCarthy on that occasion. Castles.
Plenty of men around the ball, leaving space though, avoiding the 2-on-1. Yucatil flicks it out.
Does well to get that ball to Merkus. Merkus has got round McCarthy. Brilliant from Josh Merkus. Castles coming across.
There's a
Yucatil.
shot saved by Castles. Still going to put it out of the box though. That's brilliantly done, and McCarthy will clear it out.
Pretorius all on his own.
There, just couldn't get onto the end of it.
Darcy Clues just gets the ball out.
Merkus just trying to break McCarthy's ankles. Instead, he'll disengage.
That ball control is incredible from Merkus. It really is. We're going to have an opportunity to see it up close now.
Very up close for us here in the commentary booth.
Plays the ball straight towards Castles. Parry couldn't get a touch.
Castles chooses to keep the ball close. Attempted pass to McCarthy. I think maybe a fake out. Nonetheless, handed the ball over. And that'll be a sideline for strikers. In good position too.
Merkus. Parry's gone to the back post. There's nobody front post. Yucatil right at the top of the D.
Working nicely in midfield. Tries to go through the wall, doesn't quite get it right. But in Greenland's possession here, Merkus. Through the
Plays
line.
the ball across to Parry.
Great
That's a good
shot.
save from Castles.
Still live, still live.
Latcham's there as well. And City are using those 2 men in the goal area to real great effect from a defensive point of view, but it's all strikers at the moment.
City are doing well. They're holding their nerve. No need to panic yet.
Ball's played towards Yucatil at the back post.
Off the post, still live.
And Latcham and Castles are going to have to do well here, and they do well. That's really good stuff. Latcham.
He drives it out, but just lets Merkus regain possession.
He's not normally the sort of player that does come out too often, Latcham.
You'll see it maybe once or twice in game at most, but he does use those rushes out. He does rush out fairly effectively usually. Nearly gets through the hole in the wall.
And Yucatil was lurking at the back post. Lovely ball from Parry.
He really is a star for the future, Jack Parry. He'll be in the national side fairly soon, I would imagine.
You'd think he's certainly earned a shot, and with a World Cup coming up, a home World Cup, it's probably a good time to...
Certainly to consider.
To put your name about, isn't it?
Yeah.
The acceleration on Castle's chair is so much that he often sort of tips back and sort of jerks forward.
Yes, it can be deceptive though. His rear tip bars might be a little bit higher up compared to the rest of everyone else's chairs, which may cause...
And is that a personal preference type thing, or...?
Look, it's probably more just use of the chair, if anything. Chairs that are a bit more used might have a bit more deformation in them. Might react in unique ways. Yucatil with a shot off across the face. Oh!
Ever so close. You can see Kevin Pretorius knows how close that ball was to going in. Again, good work at the back from the combination of Castles and Latcham.
They're talking at the back. They need to be careful in case the quick corner comes. It hasn't. Memphis though trying to block the wall a bit here.
Slightly different tactic from City defensively this time, although Merkus perhaps is...
Well, they can call for position. Castles can ask Merkus to clear out. He's chosen not to.
So there's some controversy in the third-fourth playoff about calling position.
Yes, there was.
We might ask you to explain that at half-time perhaps, after we've... or if indeed a similar situation occurs in this game.
Oh, that's a cross. Well held by the defence.
Merkus has 2 goals for the season, 53 in his career.
He certainly knows how to put them in the back of the net. Castle's trying to drive it forward. Merkus just standing his ground, now rushing forward.
2 of the more experienced players.
Latcham getting involved. Now with a bit of space, looks to pass.
Latcham is
tries
for
to thread through the hole.
It's the Queensland keeper, of course, Tom Latcham, so he does know. He's got that ability and that experience. But again, it's another corner, and it is all Brisbane strikers in this first half.
Once again, Jack Parry will step up to take the corner.
His deliveries have been good so far.
You can still lay him at the top of the box. He'll be the target here. Oh, well held by Latcham. Merkus looks down the line.
Parry.
Great cross.
Great ball. Ukatil.
And that's
the opening goal.
And the strikers bench absolutely love it.
It was a brilliant ball from Parry. And Ukatil gets his 3rd goal of the day. Parry his 3rd assist.
They've made a good combination today.
Fantastic. Parry has doubled the number of assists that he had over the course of the entire season. In this 1 day's worth of competition, he had 3 coming into the game. He now has 6. And Sam Ukatil now has 8 goals for the campaign, and Brisbane strikers have the upper hand.
City will look to bounce back early here, so they can get back to 1-1 quickly.
Have to say it's a lead that strikers have certainly deserved. They've had all the running in this first half of this grand final.
McCarthy plays to Pretorius, to Castles. Use of the triangle well.
They have done that passing so well. They haven't really had a chance to show it off too much in this game so far, what they were able to do against Moreton Bay United, with McCarthy trying to find Castles behind him. Now McCarthy goes again. Again, it's really good stuff from Ukatil.
He's really making himself a presence, making them know that he's there. Little contact, play on.
Referee Mark Simon Green says that's okay for now.
Ukatil tries to clear it, will fit it off McCarthy, and that will be a striker's ball.
Yeah, they've done that really well. And again, Josh Merkus heavily involved in that defensive play. But again, can't underestimate just how good Sam Ukatil was.
He's really stepped up in this match so far. Really done a good job.
Again, we spoke about it earlier on, but he's had a fantastic season as well, Sam Ukatil. Probably the best season of his short career so far.
Certainly has played well. He's holding up Castles nicely here. And will fit it out. McCarthy will get it. Oh, great hit off the front.
It's clever from Ukatil.
Oh, they almost off Parry.
Merkus was there to mop up though. Pretorius is all on his own upfield, but he's come back now to the defensive half of the court. Oh,
Merkus now with a bit of space. He's got the ball on the wrong side of his chair though. Drives around it. Oh, quick pass. He'll try again here. Possibly looking towards Ukatil. Oh, Parry steps to the top of the box. No one wants to engage him.
Just setting up their defensive structure, Brisbane City, and they concede a corner as a result.
This will give them time to properly get set in though.
Certainly the least undesirable option, conceding a corner. Marcus appears to be in a good position against McCarthy. McCarthy can't get too close.
Well, McCarthy can't go in the box either, otherwise there'll be 3 players inside the box.
Peters does well, tries to take the ball around Merkus. Merkus was waiting for that move from Castles.
Castle's still in there. Now the ball pops free for McCarthy. Gets around Yucatil, but not around Merkus.
He's just ever present, isn't he, Josh Merkus?
He's always there. Always hungry for the ball.
Pretorius was free on this near side if City can find him. They're not going to be able to, though, because Merkus is in a really good position.
He's driven Castles backwards.
He's got his chair in such a good position, and he made Castles look a little bit awkward there. It's a striker's ball once again, and Parry will once again swing the ball in.
That one will come off McCarthy to Merkus. Quick pass. Ooh, good shot.
It was Yucatil who did get that ball goalwards.
Merkus and McCarthy engaged just over halfway. McCarthy pushing Merkus back here.
Again, Merkus, you just get the sense that Merkus is always just giving a little to make sure that he's able to control where the ball's going to go, and that's certainly been the case in this little one-on-one battle, but McCarthy has continued to fight back. This is a really good battle between those two players, and it's gone the way of Jesse McCarthy. Really good football from the Brisbane City player.
Yeah, smart football. Good use of the other player to hit the ball out of the field.
The question is whether City are going to be able to do anything with this.
They're looking for it. Both players open as options.
Torres just stopping Yucatil from getting involved. Yucatil now up against Merkus. Get the sense that's what City were trying to achieve, but Merkus has managed to come away with it. Castles comes in and gets involved though. He's got 2 players on the outside of him, unable to get the ball through, and a lot of that is because of the positioning of Josh Merkus. Ball is still in. Merkus and Castles. Good football, still in play. They've done so well, these two. What a battle.
And now it goes out of play.
Off Merkus.
Off Merkus. That's a good win for Castles.
It's fantastic football from Brisbane City.
Castles just takes a quick look at the clock.
He just asked Mark Simon Green as well, our referee, what was going on there. McCarthy linking up with Pretorius.
Parry will clear it out.
That's really good from Parry. He kept his composure, and then when the spin move was available, he used it to flick the ball away. Excellent stuff from the young teenager.
Even though he's young, he's got a lot of experience and he plays really well. Meanwhile, substitutions happening here. Looks like Tyler Harmer is coming on the field.
It's just a relatively new player in this competition, only joined this year, scored 2 goals for the season. And McCarthy and Merkus going at each other again.
Merkus will win this one.
A lot of wheel spinning from Tyler Harmer. Castles. Pretorius positioned himself so well there. Parry.
Good ball out from Pretorius. Castles will use it nicely. Back to Pretorius. Back to Castles. And again. Oh, unlucky.
They'll win the sideline ball. Again, good passing football from Brisbane City. Harmer has been left on his own in the attacking half of the court for strikers. So any turnover here could prove costly.
Parry will take it upfield. McCarthy will engage.
McCarthy's done well there. A little bit of contact. Referee says it was incidental.
little bit of contact's okay. It's only the big stuff that we get too worried about.
Goal kick. Good football all round from Strikers and Brisbane City. It is Brisbane Strikers that lead. Sam Ukatil continuing his exceptional season by scoring a goal in the final, his third of the day. And all three have been assisted by young Jack Parry, although you can't underestimate and ignore the impact that Josh Merkus had, who clears that ball off McCarthy for a striker's throw over on that far side. Can't underestimate how important Merkus was in all three of the goals that Strikers have scored so far today. And lead that they take into half-time. He's been absolutely brilliant. Strikers have been absolutely brilliant. They have deserved their lead at the half-time break. But Tom Byrne, who's alongside me, there's still plenty for City to be enthused about after that half, particularly towards the end where they put Strikers under a fair amount of pressure.
It's certainly not over. It is not over, folks. The City, they'll be looking to find a way through. They've had some possession, they've had some good chances, just haven't been able to put one away yet.
What can City do? What can they do differently? It looked like realistically they need to get the ball around Josh Merkus and get the ball away from Josh Merkus.
They need to keep the ball away from Josh Merkus, but they also need to mark Josh Merkus a little bit better. If you can shut Josh Merkus down, this Strikers team can fall apart. And we saw that when at the Sydney Championships last year, where the team didn't have Josh Merkus and they were down in the 9th and 10th playoff. So the team really is built around Josh Merkus. If you can get him out of the game, City will be back in this.
Which team beat them in that 9th, 10th playoff?
That was, Tom? Of course, the Lions.
I thought we might remember that. Right, we had a little bit of a controversy in the third place playoff where Mark Warren scored, fantastic goal. It was assisted, I think, by Zach Burley playing the ball across. But Tristram Peters moved out the way, essentially. However, the Moreton Bay United bench said that Jack Gillespie had called for space. Can you explain what calling for space means and what it does and what's meant to happen?
So as a goalkeeper in those set-piece situations, you're allowed to call for position. When you call for position, you are allowed to park anywhere you want in the box, and the other players can't stop you from being in that position. When you do so, you do forgive the right to move before the ball is kicked. According to the Jets, the keeper had called for position before
Tom, thank you very much. And again, it's something that goalkeepers like to do. Can you explain the risks of doing that? Obviously, you're then held in that position until the ball is touched.
Yeah, so the main thing is you want to be moving as a goalkeeper to stop any potential gaps that open. If you're not able to move, you can then rely on your other defenders to move to cover any holes. And there always will be a hole, because you can only have 2 chairs in the box, and the box is longer than 2 chairs. So you have to always move. And if you call position, you obviously can't move. And so, yeah, the risk is you create a larger hole somewhere else that you're not covering.
Right. But you think it was okay for it to be a goal?
Look, I should probably not make an opinion on that, given that I was involved in the match.
You had a great view.
Well, I didn't hear any call for position. Apparently he called out for the ref, but didn't specifically say position.
And so you have to actually call position,
That's my understanding, is you have to call for position.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. We'll focus back on this grand final where Brisbane Strikers lead by a 0-0 over Brisbane City. These two teams are the perennial finalists, really. Although Lions have got to the
Lions have had one.
Yep, Lions got to the final. Was it in the last?
Yes, 2019.
2019, because obviously there was no competition in 2020. And City in the blue shirts will kick things off from left to right. Sam Ukatil instantly getting involved as McCarthy tries to go forward. Here's Josh Merkus. Merkus and McCarthy.
Castles been involved nicely done by Castles.
Done really well there. Josh Merkus managing to keep the ball right on the edge of his guard.
McCarthy needs to be careful he doesn't give away a 2-on-1. He's backed out now. Good pass. Castles just leaving, Merkus just leaving space to work with now. Castles does finally engage, but surrendered a good third of the field.
It was good from McCarthy, though, because he knew he was wrong side, so got out of the way so that Castles wouldn't give away a 2-on-1.
Yes, it was smart play from McCarthy to stay out. A lot of inexperienced players, such as myself, might have engaged there.
And that's the temptation, right? Because obviously you want to go and win the ball, and it just shows how much positional awareness you need in this sport. And again, for a lot of players, depending on their disabilities, full range of vision isn't always all that easy. So
it can be very hard to see, especially when the ball is behind you. You really have to rely on intuition and your teammates talking to you.
It's an exceptional pass to Castles from McCarthy. McCarthy
goes
all the way around. That's a really good shot. Yucatil and Merkus combined to block that ball's progress forward, but McCarthy did so well to find Castles in the first place and then made himself available. Have to credit Sam Yucatil. He scored at one end. Has he just saved a goal there? Oh, spin shot might come in. Merkus well positioned. Again, Jesse McCarthy is not shying away from the contest and not shying away from contact, or at least those one-on-one battles. Of course, we're not allowed full contact in this sport, but it's been great to see. That's good football from Brisbane City.
Still taking their time just to make sure their setup is right. Castles will step up. Good pass by Pretorius, intercepted by Yucatil. Back out to Pretorius. The other way to Merkus.
Pretorius knew that McCarthy was in a better position to perhaps thwart Merkus.
City once again will win the ball.
So as you were.
Lots of defense around Pretorius at the moment. Nothing on McCarthy. With the back and forth action.
Pretorius,
that's a great ball by
good
Pretorius.
save. Darcy Clues. We wondered in the first game whether or not he was going to be getting a little bit bored because he didn't have too much to do, but
he'll be in the action now.
He was called upon then, and he really did answer that call. McCarthy and Merkus. Great battle between these two. Superb stuff.
And Merkus will win it after McCarthy disengages.
Again, allowing...
Close to the sideline.
Really allowing Castles just to take over
and
there.
That's well won by Bryce Castles.
Done well, Castles. So many occasions. Might just have to...
Just move out of the way of the set piece.
It's good from Castles. Finds McCarthy, coming across as Yucatil. McCarthy has another go. Yucatil stops him again. Now Merkus it is, stopping play.
Behind.
So
McCarthy with space.
He's so aware of his surroundings, isn't he, Josh Merkus? Knew that he was able to come across then because he's wearing the goalkeeper's shirt and was just in his area. He only has to keep one part of the ball in his area, one part of the chair in the area.
One wheel in the area.
Castles to McCarthy, who spins.
Yucatil saves a very hard shot there.
Can smell the burning rubber as it's come across on this side of the field, this side of the court. They are really putting everything into this. These players searching for a championship, strikers searching for their fifth to go with their 5 premierships. Brisbane City hoping for a maiden grand final win.
McCarthy and Castles just lose a bit of communication there. Yucatil will stay engaged with McCarthy.
So impressed with Yucatil.
He's certainly got his head down and played well today. Though he's surrendering a bit of meterage now.
Think back to how he played when he was playing for the Queensland Barbarians in the championship.
And the refs just pulled the play back.
Maybe the ball went out of play.
That's what it appears to be. It looks like it's gone over the sideline. You can tell we'll play it back in.
McCarthy is there. Pretorius too. Merkus has to do really well. It does do really well just to win that ball back. And now Merkus is going to have a little go. All on his own. Has Tyler Harmer up there in support. And for once, Josh Merkus can't quite get that ball to stick and go around.
Oh, but he wins it beautifully there.
Excellent football from Josh Merkus. Even when things don't go quite right, they still seem to come off for him.
He always has a plan B and C and D. So Harmer's coming off and Jack Parry will make his return to the field. Of course, rolling subs here. You can bring a player back on once they've been taken off.
Merkus.
Locked by McCarthy, then by Castles.
Yucatil is there. Latcham. Oh, this could get awkward because Merkus is very interested when the ball spins across the edge of the area like that. Castles is just as adept, twisting and turning. Oh, that's superb stuff.
And once again, Merkus will win it off another player.
It's the sort of ball control you'd see on a futsal court, let alone a Powerchair football court. It's absolutely sensational from the Poweroo Bryce Castles. He is El Presidente, the president of the Queensland Powerchair Football Association. He's coach as well of Brisbane City. And he's one of the more skillful players in the country. And he's really been showing that off as the ball goes out for a corner. Must have just taken a touch off Jesse McCarthy.
Would have taken a touch on both Parry and then McCarthy.
Again, good football from strikers. An expectant crowd watching on. Strikers lead by a goal to nil.
Well cleared by Castles. 2 Pretorius. That's a run upfield.
All these chairs limited to 10 kilometres per hour in theory. Merkus gets back and he'll go up against Castles once again. Castles might just have the better of him here. No, it's gone out for a striker's ball. Again, great work from Merkus. It was a good counter-attacking move from City. Very impressive in transition. Pretorius just couldn't quite get the ball with enough pace on it to Bryce Castles.
Speaking of Bryce Castles, you'll get it there. 2 Pretorius, to McCarthy.
Back to Pretorius.
McCarthy again, good passing here.
They're just trying to move Merkus around, aren't they? But all it takes is one slightly missed pass and Merkus is there to latch hold of it.
McCarthy just tried one of Merkus's tricks there just to try and play it off the other player. Merkus was wary of it though. Wins the ball.
Again, it's that level of experience from Josh Merkus. Castles, Pretorius, almost. Good work. Oh, but Merkus can't quite control. An opportunity for Pretorius. McCarthy now. Merkus is back in position well. McCarthy trying to go around Pretorius. Does go around Merkus, sorry.
Oh, big contact.
Big contact.
Interesting to see which way this is called.
And Jesse McCarthy is just being checked upon.
He certainly felt that one.
Referee Mark Simon Green is just
checking in with McCarthy.
He stopped his watch as well. Looks like it's going City's way.
It's going against City, and that's a yellow card for Jesse McCarthy.
So McCarthy gets booked, just the second booking we've seen today.
Bit of a talking to Josh Merkus as well, though.
It could have gone either way, but it did look like McCarthy might have just spun into Josh Merkus as Merkus came forward. So
it can be very tough to judge those contact calls. McCarthy then gets straight back into it. Straight back into the battle with Merkus.
Again, good refereeing from Mark Simon Green, just explaining his decision to Jesse McCarthy.
McCarthy just tapping against Merkus's chair. Now Merkus will probably look to do the same.
Good battle, this.
Good patient battle as well. Waiting to find the right opportunity, not going too early. McCarthy will try and rush it through, nearly takes out the referee.
That's what happens if you give him the yellow card. That was a great battle, and they're going to resume hostilities. They're slightly closer to the byline. This time, Mark Simon Green takes a slightly wider berth. Great battle. Oh, you love to see this. Which way is this going? It is a Brisbane City ball, so it was adjudged to have come for Josh Marcus last, so we'll chalk that one up as a win for Jesse McCarthy. And he will take the sideline shot.
So Castle's feeding up in Mercus' space here.
Not much space to operate in. McCarthy.
And that's well run by Parry upfield. McCarthy will reman it, but it's over this halfway line. And then some.
Good work from Parry. Doesn't get the decision that he wanted, but nevertheless, very good defensive work from the youngster. Having his own little personal battle now with Kevin Pretorius. Important that off the ball work. That's striker's ball. Parry will be in a position to take this.
He's a little soft one to Mercus. Mercus will just walk with it upfield.
McCarthy saw the run of Parry and decided that that was a better option.
But then he left Parry open. Great hit by Castles. And then
Parry is there, interested. Oh, Mercus in the centre of the goal area. Oh, it's another shot that comes across. And a difficult bouncing ball. Let's say exceptional work from our camera woman to avoid her tripod being knocked over on a couple of occasions so far.
That's the power that these chairs generate when you string a few hard hits together.
Well, that is a heavy ball, and to see that ball bounce up like that, you know the amount of force that's gone into it.
First time in a little while that City have actually been tested defensively.
7 minutes remaining in this grand final. Strikers leading by a goal to nil, and you're right, this is now the first time in the second half that Strikers are really putting pressure on. Mercus takes his time.
Well read by Latcham.
There's not a lot that gets past Tom Latcham.
The McCarthy Mercus battle resumes once again. This time it will go out off Mercus.
Again, McCarthy's done well, but really all Josh Mercus needs to do there is to kick the ball out. It doesn't matter necessarily whether it comes off him or off McCarthy, because
he knows he'll get it back in 30 seconds anyway.
Absolutely, and it didn't even take that long before the ball was back up the guard of Josh Mercus. He's up against Castles now. That's good from Castles, plays the ball off Mercus again, who's quite happy to let the ball go out. It's in his attacking half of the court.
They are in front, so he's not too worried about cleaning up field too often, if he doesn't have to. Being hit there, unfortunately Yucatil not there to receive it.
He wants a second though, wants he, Josh Mercus, just to give that cushion a little bit of, little bit more confidence.
He'll want to be on the scoring sheet himself, I'm sure.
We can understand that. So just blocking off the avenue for Yucatil there was Pretorius, and that's what Bryce Castles was asking for.
That one will go out of play off McCarthy.
Yucatil was ball side of Pretorius there, but Castles was goal side of him and managed to win that ball back, and he'll play it off Yucatil for a sideline right on halfway. Goal for City will make things interesting. 20 minutes each way, 10 minutes of extra time if required. And then it'll be penalties. Again, if required.
McCarthy trying to keep it in play.
The battle resumes.
Merkel's cleaning a little bit of air with his front wheels. McCarthy trying to stay with it. Bails out in the end.
And now, no sooner has Merkus gone past one state representative, but he comes up against another. McCarthy formerly played for WA in the last national championships, and Castles was a Queensland teammate. Oodles of talent in Powerchair football making its home in Queensland. And a lot of it on the court at the moment. Representing Brisbane Strikers and Brisbane City in the grand final. Brisbane City trailing Brisbane Strikers by 1-0. The goal was scored by Sam Yucatil. It's a season really that probably deserves
grandstand finish.
Absolutely, and
McCarthy and Castles being a little bit aggressive in the box there.
Close eye being kept on that by Mark Simon Green, our referee.
Oh, the two teammates collided heavily there.
Well, Simon Green just saying to Josh Merkus, you're going to can't knock your own teammates out. Darcy Clues, who played for the Barbarians, the 21-year-old.
Oh!
And Castles tried to spin that ball away. And you hear Jesse McCarthy saying that the goal really needs to be moved. He's okay. It must send a real shock all the way through your body, Tom, when you make contact like that, because we've mentioned it a couple of times, it's not like there's much suspension or much padding in these chairs.
No, very little padding. When you have a hit that hard, you certainly do feel it.
So that futsal goal has been moved.
And we're having a set ball after that situation. So Jack Parry will step up for the Strikers and Jesse McCarthy for City.
So explain the situation here.
So the two players will be asked to engage on the ball, and then the play will continue from there. So there's the play being continued. McCarthy will win it.
Oh, he just looked to engage there with Merkus when might have been better off just trying to drive for goal maybe.
Look, if he drives for goal there, Merkus probably just shuts him down.
Yep, that's a good point. McCarthy and Merkus.
McCarthy retreating a little bit. Now he hits the ball upfield a little bit. And that one comes off the rear of McCarthy's chair.
Oh,
doesn't look like he's happy about the call either.
It's unlucky really for McCarthy. I think it's more frustration that he knows he just got a little bit unfortunate off that deflection. Well, Parry does well. Oh, Parry.
Good follow-up from Parry.
Parry and Castles linking up very well there. Bit of contact. Play's allowed to continue.
Parry once again will try and flip it out. McCarthy covers. Parry backs out. Ooh, very nearly contact.
They really do well to avoid that contact then. Again, that close chair control from all these players. Jack Parry looks up at the clock. There's probably a little under 2 minutes remaining in this grand final. Wow, this second half has flown by. 2-on-1 is called against Strikers.
This might be the last shot here for City.
This might be certainly the last throw of the dice. About 30 seconds is the call from the Brisbane City bench.
McCarthy has a big swing. Yucatil will shut it down. Latcham will rush forward. Doesn't quite hit the hit he wants.
Yucatil could finish
Yucatil
it here.
Finishes
Yucatil
it
does finish it. The celebrations start on the Brisbane Strikers supporters area. Sam Yucatil capitalising on the mistake from Tom Latcham. And Sam Yucatil gets his 4th goal of the day.
And there's a big smile on his face. He knows how important that goal was for his team.
Well, you'd have to say that is game over, you'd think.
Almost certainly. Substitutions being done here.
Parry goes off. Tyler Harmer comes on to see this game out.
Can't be many more seconds left on the clock here.
The Strikers leading 2-0. One last charge forward for Brisbane City, who have found it hard going to really challenge goalkeeper, or at least the player furthest back, Darcy Clues. There is your nominal goalkeeper, Josh Merkus, who's been so influential at the other end of the court, and he's just taking a bit of time off the clock now, engaging in another battle with Jesse McCarthy.
Had an opportunity there to push it forward, chose not to, prefers to be in this battle. Just letting the clock wind down.
That's the seconds tick on by. McCarthy. Well, McCarthy does well.
Gets it out to Castles. Castles tries to have it been hit. Merkus will shut it down and flips it deep.
Harmer is upfield, but the wrong side of the court.
Quick check of the watch by the referee.
Right, Simon Green puts the whistle to his lips.
And
Brisbane
there
Strikers have a 5th successive championship. It was very hard work because Brisbane City really gave them a tough game, but that was superb from the Strikers.
They really brought their A game today. They are thoroughly deserving of this victory.
They really did, and that man, Josh Merkus, absolutely superb as you'd expect. Sam Yucatil scored all 4 of Strikers' goals in this final series. Fantastic work for him. He's finished off a superb season with 9 goals. Not bad at all. Parry added 3 assists over the course of the day, just 1 in that final. But Strikers once again will maintain their stranglehold over this competition, and Tom Byrne, they were probably deserving of that over the course of both the season and the day. They were better for longer, I think, in this grand final.
They played an incredible game. They've just stopped City from getting any real good chances. Played a patient game near the end to wind the clock down, and then were rewarded with a 2nd goal.
Again, it was City who were pushing for that equaliser. You could almost get the sense that was a real risk of getting that ball forward. Sam Yucatil, though, he knew that there was an opportunity, and he raced after that ball like his life depended on it. He's just found his goal-scoring form.
He's found it on the right day to do it.
Absolutely. And again, he spoke about how pleased he had been with his progression this season on social media last week after the end of the regular season, and you can certainly see why, because he has come on in leaps and bounds over the last couple of years. Again, I mentioned that he was part of the Barbarians team, and he looked like really think that Barbarians team looked like a young player who was still trying to find his way, albeit with tremendous talent. He looks like he's
found it now.
Absolutely, he's starting to answer and to realise that talent. It's hugely impressive. And again, 2 goals in the grand final, 2 goals in the semi-final as well. You could certainly say that he's celebrating in front of his large supporter group now.
Adoring crowd gathered around him. He deserves such a big crowd after such a performance.
In terms of player of the match in that grand final, I don't think you can look past Josh Merkus. A lot of what Strikers did came through him.
He was pulling the strings out there. Almost at times looked like he had all the other chairs on the other team playing for him as well. He was using them that well.
That's a really good point, and it's not just about how you use your own teammates. It is about how you use your surroundings, and it is about how you manage to play the ball off your opponent's chairs. And not only that, but doing so in the right parts of the court. He was able to do that and keep the ball over on that far side and keep City pegged in, and he did exactly the same in the semi-final as well, and you would have seen that at close hand in that 2-0 victory over your Lions side. He's a real talent, and I mean, without wanting to sort of descend into hyperbole, Australia are lucky to have him.
Australia are lucky to have a lot of players, and yes, it's we've got a very talented side, and hopefully we have a lot of momentum heading into this World Cup next year.
The World Cup is in October in Sydney next year. Australia will be joined by 9 other teams: Japan, England, Ireland, Denmark, Northern Ireland, France, the United States and Argentina, for what will be a fantastic occasion. But of course, there's still another season of Queensland Powerchair football that we need to get through. Hopefully there'll be a national championships in and around all of that time as well, whereby we can again get a glimpse of the abundance of talent in Powerchair football over the course of the entire country. Again, part of the under-21 Australian team that played in the APO Cup. You've got players from all parts of the country, including Rebecca Evans in WA. She's great to see her in that side, and again, she'll be one of those players, along with Jack Parry, along with Jesse McCarthy and Sam Ukatil, who'll be pushing for a spot in that Powerroos team. And again, as unfortunate as it is that New South Wales hasn't had a season, it can only work in Queensland's favour that you guys have been able to play this whole season and really show everybody what you can do thanks to this live stream.
And develop our skills as well. That's the big thing. When you're on court, you learn every single match you play.
You certainly do. There will be a presentation. I'm not entirely sure we're going to take that. We will. So we'll continue to pad, if that's all right. Tom, or do you have to go and get a...
I'm good to pad.
We'll continue to pad. Tom Byrne is my guest for this grand final, the Lions player, youth member of Parliament as well, of course, for Moggle. So we'll continue our discussion while we sort out the main honours and the pleasantries. Let's talk about the season as a whole, Tom, because again, hopefully there will be some people down in New South Wales watching this. Hopefully I won't be watching it, through a bittersweet lens of being able to watch Powerchair football but not really being able to play, and seeing some of the social media posts from these players who have really struggled with lockdown, and of course that lockdown looks like it might be easing, but there's still that threat of coronavirus and vaccinations and everything around it. We should really give a bit of a call out to them, and all the while paying credit to Queensland for being able to put on this season.
Yeah, no, it's obviously a very tough situation in those southern states. I feel for you. You're doing it tough. Simply then, it looks like you're not too far away from the end. But no, it's been credit to Queensland as a state in general that we've been able to have this tournament, albeit with a couple of interruptions throughout. But we have managed to get a season in, and we've been rewarded with a fantastic grand final day today, broadcast live across the Football Queensland YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, and we will have to give credit to Football Queensland for that, for jumping on board and helping to show off the talents of you players, because again, I think anyone who hears about Powerchair football, and I was speaking about this on radio this morning, you hear what the bones of it are. You say it's four-a-side football played indoors by people in electric wheelchairs, and you go, oh, okay, well, that sounds interesting. And then you see it, and you think, oh, wow. I mean, we saw a moment from Bryce Castles where he was taking the ball out, dribbling the ball like he was using, like he was playing on a futsal court, like we were going to see in the National Premier League's Queensland matches that we've got coming up later on today. It's really incredible the skill level of the players that you have here in Queensland and that we have here in Queensland playing week in, week out. It's a real pleasure to watch, and hopefully a few more people have seen it and will be able to enjoy. And not only that, but people who do use an electric wheelchair for their mobility will be able to see this as an option and say, hey, I might quite fancy a go at that.
It's a wonderful sport, and like, I've only been playing for 2 years. I lived regionally for many years, and then when I came down to Brisbane, I was ushered in by several of my friends who I was playing on field with today to come down and take part. And like, here at PPFA, if you want to play Powerchair football, we'll let you in. And, like, you'll immediately be able to play with some of the best players in the country and the world.
Well, that's the most pressing point. Australia finished 4th at the last World Cup. These are some of the best players in their chosen craft in the world. And it's not only that, but it's week in, week out, isn't it? And it's a great community. I mean, every time I come down and spend some time, I'm always made to feel welcome. It's always a really exciting to be here and to watch you play and to spend some time with you all. And just the level of competition, the fierceness of the competition, almost comes as a... almost comes in spite of the friendliness that you all have.
We're all really good mates off the court, but the moment we step on the court, or drive onto the court rather, that friendship goes out the window. We play hard. We play to win.
It's exceptional to see, really. And again, it's a sport that is growing. 4 teams now. Originally in 2016 when it started, there were only 3. Lions are one of the new teams that are a part of the competition, and again, it's a thriving Powerchair football scene here in Queensland.
It's always growing. We're not too far off. Hopefully, we're hitting the 15th. Fingers crossed.
Right.
Just need a few more players, and we should be able to make that happen. So that'll be very exciting once we are able to make that happen.
Well, that's superb. Have you been scoping out which MPL club you're going to adopt?
We don't have any details on that yet. But yes, we are hoping to have a 5th team in the league in the near future. Once we get a few more players signed up and ready to go, there'll be an expansion.
Because I guess one of the obstacles is these Strikeforce chairs. They are custom made, aren't they, by Strikeforce?
They're shipped in from the US. They're not cheap, and they take a fair while to get here.
And yet, it's incredibly important for anyone who's in a wheelchair who wants to be able to compete, to be able to have access to these.
Because you can't play in a day chair. You can play technically in a non-Strikeforce chair, and many of us started our careers in older chairs that were modified to have a bull bar and to be safe enough to play. But if you want to play at the top level, you do need a Strikeforce, as is evidenced by everyone here today. And yeah, they're not easy to get, but you can get them. And yeah, you can get down here. Us at PPFA will help you get one.
A lot of experience and a lot of knowledge that can be imparted. Something I spoke about with Tristram Peters, who is one of the representatives on the FITFA, which is the Federation International Powerchair Football Association. He's the rep, the General Secretary of the Asia Pacific Oceania Executive. We spoke a few times and have spoken a few times about higher honours for Powerchair footballers, including, and of course I'm sure most people know where I'm going with this, including the Paralympics. It's a sport that has equality at its heart, not only due to the range of disabilities that it caters for, but also it's
a mixed gender sport.
Mixed gender sport. We don't have any female players in Queensland, although I'm sure you'd be more than welcoming of any women who want to take part, women and girls, because this is a young person's sport, isn't it? That's what Tristram keeps telling me.
Age is no barrier to Powerchair football.
I think at the national championships last year we had players all the way from 10 years old up until into their 50s.
Yeah, there's a large age range you can play, and pretty much if you feel like you're able to play, then you probably are able to play.
Which is spectacular, really, and that's exactly what you want. And, dare I say it, it speaks with the Paralympic values of inclusion and inclusivity and accessibility. And one of the things that I'm sure everyone who would have enjoyed the Paralympics coverage over the course of the month or so before, they would have noticed, and everyone would have noticed, that, well, actually, unless you're willing to play boccia, there's not a lot of options for those of you with severe mobility issues.
No, there really isn't that many sports out there for us in electric wheelchairs. Yeah, boccia is the main one. Powerchair football is really growing, and we're not far off Paralympic inclusion. We just haven't got there yet.
It was considered for inclusion by the the International Paralympic Committee, but didn't quite make the grade, unfortunately.
I believe the reason was we just didn't have enough countries at the time that played, was I believe the reasoning, which I think we do meet now. So
Right.
next time the IPC meet, we should be able to have a good tilt at letting in.
Which is exciting because one of the next Paralympic Games,
Brisbane 2032.
right here in Brisbane, so that will be exciting. Appears that we are almost ready for the presentations to take place. Just had a message from Gavin Lee, who's the only fully qualified official for Powerchair football in Australia, and he's just said that he really enjoyed the coverage. And thanks for watching along, Gavin. Hope you're well down in Sydney and you're dealing with lockdown well. Hope to see you in the flesh very soon. Fingers crossed. So thanks for watching along, and thank you for watching wherever you have been tuning in from, and I hope you have enjoyed what we've seen so far. It looks like we're about to hear from Bryce Castles, the president of the Queensland Powerchair Football Association.